Hello everybody and welcome to a drawing tutorial. The first of a little series about drawing and animation and how it works and how you do for people that literally knows nothing to people that know some stuff but want to improve. Maybe, I don't know, if you want to watch it, just watch it. It's not poison, you'll be alive. Anyway, yes, today is the very first episode, so we're gonna focus on very basic things, such as three specific things. First of all, I want to teach you how to hold your pen, because your brush strokes and just the way you move around your canvas is very important to how your drawing will result. Then I want to also work on the basic shapes, the 3D basic shapes that are extremely important for just about everything in drawing ever and forever. And finally, I want to focus on puppets, which we will use those basic shapes for. And thanks to them, we can make a lot of things. I'll show you. I prepared some layers for them because I'm professional. Anyway, let's start. First of all, this little hand is not just for show. It actually helps to show you what I'm doing, because the cursor is basically invisible here when I draw. At least you can see what I'm doing easily. Just follow the pen. Okay, so first of all is the strokes. So what's very important to know, and a lot of people when they start drawing don't realize, is they want to be meticulous, right? They want to make sure that everything goes smoothly. So they will they will put their face right in the paper, and they'll make a little line to be sure that, oh, it's straight. And as you might see, if I zoom further, you can see it's very wobbly, and you can very much see it. And it doesn't look great, because I don't understand. I went slowly, I paid attention, but it's still very wobbly. What's happening? Well, that's because that's not how you would do it. Usually, what you would do, instead of using your entire arm to drag yourself down, is you would use your wrist. So by bending your wrist, for example, or by going fast, that's very important as well. If you just go fast, you can erase a lot. You can make curves that are very clean instead of curves that are very dirty. See the difference? One main part of drawing is to be assured in what you're doing, and if you can't, that's okay. If you're on computer, you got Control Z. If you're not on computer, you got a eraser. Just believe in yourself. What matters is that the baseline is not as squiggly as the other one would be. That will help your drawing be a lot more cleaner. So for a circle, just go for it. If it's not good, then you go again. It's okay. There's no harm in trying again. But if you were to do slowly, then you can see how it's not going to be as precise. See what I mean? Do you notice the difference between those two? Or even, again, a square. If you do 4 lines like this, it might be a little more rough until you get used to it. But if you do this, and I'm not trying to exaggerate, I'm actually just going slow, and you can see how the detail just kind of falls off. So yeah, that's a very important part. Two very important part actually is how you use your stylus, your pen, your pencil, your paintbrush, I don't know. Anyway, quick strokes are very important. Going slow leaves more room for error because your hand is not robotic. You apply different kind of pressure as you go on. You're always a little vibrating. It happens. It's absolutely normal, so don't stress it out. But yeah, clean strokes, and try to make use of your wrist. It bends. It's made for a reason. If you want to make a curve, just keep your wrist on the tablet and just curve it up. And there you go. You can see how those curves work. And depending on the shape you do, you'll get used to it. It's a lot of training, but this is a very important step that I felt I needed to talk about. It's not much, but it's something that you can easily train yourself with. Now, the second thing that you need to learn that is very annoying, because when we start drawing, we're really interested in making, beautiful drawings, we want to make some cool stuff. But first, before the cool stuff, we gotta make, like I said before, basic shape. Basic shapes are these. Basically, they're 3D shapes drawn on the 2D paper that will be useful for knowing where the shadows will be, where the light will be. So for example, I'll draw the most basic shapes that everybody needs to know because they're used everywhere. There's the ball. I don't know exactly the name. I think it's a ball. I'm French. Have mercy on me. And there's the cube. The cube is very easy. Hold on. I'm trying to make it like a nice looking cube at least. So if you want to draw a cube, you have no idea how to do it, you don't have any idea of perception, just draw 2 squares like this with like 1/4 overlapping, and then just link the corners together. And there you go. You have your little cube. For sake of seeing a little bit better, I'm just gonna erase a tiny bit of the inside, so it's easier to like, see the cube and see what's behind the cube, per se. It's not a mandatory step, but it helps. Also, I'm not gonna edit this because I want people to be able to follow if they want to try and follow as well. But yeah, it's very useful. So we got the ball, then we have the cube, then of course I'll draw this line again. There's just to determine like which is part of a side, but I think it's self-explanatory on the cube actually, because you know it has sides. So we got the ball, we got the cube, then we have a little prism, which is like a cone. I should probably make that. So same step as before, I'm going to erase this because this is behind the drawing. But yeah, it's just a little cone. There you go. You can see how I'm going slowly, so of course it's a little wiggly, but yeah. There you go. A cone and a ball, cube, cone. Is there anything else you technically need? Probably. I mean, all basic shapes are important, but these are very, very important because they consist of 99% of every drawing. So, the point of these is, for example, we'll start with the cube because that's the easiest to understand. That's literally the most basic because its shapes are very clearly cut out. For example, shape 1 is this. Side 1, sorry. The second side is this. A third side is this. Like, you know, you can very easily separate them. Whereas the others, it's not as clear cut. And the reason you're drawing them in 3D is because you need to understand how light and shadow will reflect off of it. So for example, if I have the sun right here, you know, it's blasting like this. All the drawing like this. So what happened is, if I've decided that the sun is in front of the drawing, going towards the drawing, so let's see, how can I, I'm getting lost in explaining, I'm sorry, this is my first one, have mercy. Okay, let's do where it's behind the drawing, okay? So just a little shadow so you guys understand. The sun is here and the cube is here. So it shines, the cube receives the light. So this will receive the light because the sun is above the cube. This, however, is on a side where it would not receive. So this would be darkened and this would be darkened. Makes sense? And that's easy to understand because on the cube, again, every side is, you know, separated. That's very cool, that's very neat. Now, opposite, the sun is instead in front. Here is the sun. And I didn't make a new layer for this. I'm just going to Control Z a whole bunch. My professionalism is showing. You're welcome. Now here the sun is showing here. Then, you might have guessed already, this will be lit up. This will also be lit up. This will still be in the shadow. And yeah, that's how you're gonna shade the cube. And that theory works on every shape. Even for the ball, which is very different in nature because it doesn't have some clear-cut edges, will still follow the same logic, just in a tiny bit different because it's curved. So we take the ball, we get the sun is here, the sun is in front of the ball. This part will be lighted up, depending on how much in front is, but all of this will be lighted up, and all of this will be in shadow. Or if it's behind, then only this part will get light, and all of this will be in shadow. It's good for training, but we'll go into lighting a little more, straightforward another episode, because that's a whole can of worm that we're gonna need to take care of. So yeah. Anyway, I forgot to make a layer again. So those important shapes, their main purpose, aside from making a shadow, is we're gonna use them to create what's called puppets. Yes, like the one people control. The puppets, you may have seen them purchasable online. There's those little figure, like wooden figure with like the arms, and they're like, well, like this. Yes, those are extremely useful, and it's something you have to teach yourself how to make. So my recommendation is to start using existing thing, like take something that exists. This is an exercise I had in my art school. Take something that exists, and then from this try to create the puppet out of it using only those basic shape at the very beginning. Then you can use more defined shape. You can kind of morph them once you understand these. Like for example, if you know the ball, then you can also make this, for example. Like you'll still know how it works. As long as you're careful, you can decide that it's like double bump, because you know how the shading works. You know how the shading here works, how it works here. But for starters, you only use these ones. And I have some examples. I'll first show one example online for a realistic drawing, because I haven't done it on myself because it's been years and I'm lazy. But I also have an example that I've just done, which is from a cartoon, because it works both in realism and cartoon. Even though cartoon is exaggerated, it still follows the same rules that everything does. So for example, the realistic is with not this, but this, a little horse. So it looks complex, right? Like it looks fucking chaotic, to be honest. It's a horse. Oh, how will I ever draw this? Well, if you look further, you can see that this... Wait, did I not draw? Oh, I know what I missed. Yes. Okay. Good job. Sorry. This is the final shape. There you go. This is a cylinder. This is the most important. I actually completely forgot. Okay. So now that we know all those shapes and puppets and everything, it's time to see them in action. And with that, I will show you a horse. So it looks scary. But if you look at it a little further, you'll notice that, for example, if we take the torso, and I take back my red pen, my correction pen, the torso is a cylinder. It's just a little bent cylinder. The butt, the buttocks, is nothing but two cubes pushed together. I'll erase a tiny bit so you can see. Sorry. The legs are nothing but cylinders. Again, cylinders over and over again, every single time. But yeah, you can see how everything in this is formed with basic shape. Whether they're bent a little bit to follow a little more of the character's anatomy, they still end up being those very basic shape. And the tail is literally just a line because you don't need that much detail in this. But yeah. Very creative, very realistic things. You can create them from basic shapes. It's very cool, it's very nice. But that doesn't just end there. For example, my main example is with cartoon. So here I have this. This is from Hercules. This is Pain. This is Suffer, or I think it's Coward. He has a name. This guy's name is Pain. It doesn't really matter. But those characters, as goofy as they look, are actually also made out of shapes. And I've prepared this one because it's a little complex because there's a lot of shapes. But if you look at it, I think I can decide the drawing, it'll be easier. Yeah. If you look, this entire character design from straight bottom to finish is only based off those 4 basic shape I've made. I didn't create some new shape. This is just an orb and an orb behind it. It's just 2 balls, a triangle, just a square made into a rectangle. Like everything, the only thing particular is this square, which has been a little twisted. So like, you know, it's been twisted like this. But that's about it. And yeah, everything from cartoon to realistic is based entirely off those basic shapes. So one of the most important thing I can tell for someone that is very new is just 3 steps. 1, blank. 1 is just train your wrist. First of all, make those strokes, make sure the strokes are clean, and once you master this, you can have fun. Training your wrist is very important. Second is basic shapes. As easy as it sounds, make sure you know how to make basic shape before making complex shape, because it'll always come in handy. And 3 is puppets, because just like I've shown, puppets are the nature of everything. No matter what you want to draw, you can make it out of puppets. As long as it's existing in this world, it consists of basic shapes. Whether they get a little bit complex or, you know, stay purely basic, just like the one we saw today, they remain extremely basic. Okay? So that's it. I mean, it doesn't need to be a gigantic tutorial. It's so far we're only at the very beginning. My training for puppets is, like I say, take from a show you like, a character. Maybe not avoid something like South Park, because, you know, it's paper cut, so it's a little bit simplistic, but I mean, you can still do it. It's just, you know, it's not made to be 3D at all. It's made to be actual paper. So it's gonna be thin. It doesn't have any 3D shapes. But for example, The Simpsons, you can have The Simpsons, that's an eye, that's a cylinder with a ball at the end, you know, that's a cylinder, all that. But yeah, just take something that exists already, try to make a puppet out of it, and then once you've done that, try making a puppet of your own. So like you'll be like, okay, there you go, he got a little neck, I want him to have a torso, so the torso will be, I want it to be like a V character, so it's gonna be a big old square with shoulders, you know, all that. Then you can make your own and try to improve on that. And yeah, that's gonna be it for today. I thank you for watching. Of course, I think it feels weird to say, but I thank to my patron who helps me survive, so thank you very much. And I'll see you next video where I work on shading and lighting, which will be a little more in-depth. We'll be using a ball mostly, but then some example, you know, on actual characters as always. Okay, thank you. Bye!